Alright guys, welcome back to my video again. It has been a long hiatus since the last video that I posted months ago. So you can see over here what I'm doing now is actually a big stage platform. Something that I never expect myself to do. It's a big challenge, yes, because it is big, very big, as you can see from the first video, how I can just run across and back. The whole dimension of it is a total length of 8 meters and the width is 4 meters. So try to imagine it itself is connected by 2 trapezium and 1 circle. Now you can see from this video what I'm doing now is after fixing the carcass, I am adding the ribs as the support. So before moving up to join on the platform base that you can see. Now before I do that, what I did was to join 2 big pieces of plywood together. The whole sheet is 4x8, so 2 pieces together before cutting out the quadrant. The reason is because the whole height or the whole dimension of one quadrant itself, the radius is 2 meters. So picture as a whole circle, the diameter is 4 meters. So this is how big it is. I'm trying to do a test, and after that, once done already, I have to take it out. And this is the quadrant. Okay, so instead of cutting one whole big piece, because you know that plywood is only 4x8 feet or 1.2 by 2.4 meters, I have to join 2 together, and this is how it looks. The white color side is actually the white PVC, as because the top has to be smooth and it should not be of raw wood in case there's any splinters. So this is a safer way instead of using lamination. Now joining them together, I use a clamp to clamp it to make sure that everything fit accordingly and all edges are well accordingly to how it's supposed to be before I screw them together to the ribs. Now the next part is the testing. Okay, so before even adding the base, I need to do a test first to check out if there are any places that are a bit shaky or it is not strong enough, yeah, so that I can add in more ribs or add in more supports. Well, it shows that everything is done correctly. Now I'm adding the other side of the base to cover it. Same thing, but this time around is just normal raw light plywood without any PVC. You realize that how I'm actually kicking inch by inch of the plywood is because I want to make sure that it sit flush. That's like what you can see over here, ensuring that every dimension and every measurement is correct. So I actually ensure that when I screw in like this, I'm actually screwing down onto the ribs of the platform or the support so that it catches into it. And there are many screws that I have screwed in, and I cannot remember how much, but there's a lot. I almost just finished the whole packet. Now moving on is to add in more supports. Okay, this support serves as a 2 purpose. Okay, the first purpose over here is to ensure that the nearer to the circumference of the quadrant is strong enough when the user is snapping onto it. And the second purpose is so that when I cover it up, I can actually nail the cover piece of the wood onto the ribs itself. So it serves like how I'm doing it right now. I'm actually nailing it to the actual ribs that you can see, and this is how I do it. Now you may be wondering what am I doing with this. So this is actually some trick that I learned from older carpenters. who taught me how to fill up the circumference to cover it up. Yep, using this with one-sided PVC plywood of 5mm thick. Next up, finally, a final test. You can see over here, I'm very confident with how my platform turns out to be, so I'm jumping around, okay, to show that it's of great durability to withstand my weight. So I'm about 74 kilogram, and this is me taking a rest after a long day of work. And next up, the user requested it to be able to be moved because it's so big and they don't want to carry it. They want it to be able to move, so they requested for wheels. These wheels are very big, 5 inches diameter wheels, and each wheel is able to withstand a load of 200 kilograms. So 4 wheels is 800 kilograms. But the diameter or the quadrant is not so heavy. As you can see over here, I myself, one man alone, is able to handle it. It's just that because it's big, so it requires much care. Now, testing it. Well, it works perfectly. I'm happy with how it looks and how it works. Next up, a final test. Standing up to ensure that the wheels doesn't collapse and is able to withstand my weight. Bingo! Alright, next up, the other side, which is to build the ramp. So the ramp is a very unique design or unique work that I'm doing over here. It consists of a slope, okay, a slope that is of a triangle shape. Now you can see over here, I am actually kneeling. Okay, this is the opposite direction. Kneeling it first so that when I screw, it will be easier for me rather than freehanding screwing. And same thing, I'm also adding ribs over here. This will act as a support in case when the user stand up onto it and walk onto the slope, it does not collapse. Many ribs, and I divided it into 2 equal sections. Now, adding the other part of the side, which is a right angle triangle. Similarly, I'm using the nailer to nail it down before screwing. Just that it takes some time and consistency. Okay, so putting it down, I'm adding the cover. So after adding the cover of the slope where the user is able to walk on, this is how I join them together. Similarly, I had used a long piece of wood to mark out before screwing it in onto the support. And this is some tricky or some nice part that I did was to cut an angle. Now, why do I want to cut an angle on the plywood? Well, the reason is because as a slope, I want it to be able to touch the other slope on the opposite mirror and to ensure that it fits without any angle distortion. This is what I meant by zooming it in, so that when it touches the other end, it is flush 90 degrees. So tedious work, but I want to make sure that things works perfectly. Now the final part, screwing the top cover that is of white PVC, and that's it. One slope done, 3 more to go. Alright, the next part is the other part of the slope. Okay, this is a little bit trickier because it's more towards a triangle shape that is resembling a pyramid. Well, you can see from the video here, I'm actually pausing. The reason is because I need to ensure that the ribs are being connected properly, as it is of more of a complicated design as compared to the previous one. Why so? You can see over here, this is what I meant, because it has a gradient that is actually connected to the right angle section. So that's where there are actually three different sections: left, center, and the right. Now this part is basically playing of different angles and also playing of how I want to make use of different shapes to join them together as requested by the user of the platform, because he wanted it to look aesthetically pleasing rather than just a flat slope, just like I did in the first video before this. The current picture, I decided to turn it over so that you can take a look before I add the ribs. So you can see that there are actually three portions as what I mentioned: the right, the center, and the left. So the right is actually a flat right angle piece. The center is a smaller triangle, and the left is where the gradient slope is. Putting it down, now what I did was to cover the top. So the top is the same, using one-sided white PVC. Testing to ensure that it fits correctly, and their proportion, everything fits just nice. So I need to make sure that everything works. This may take time here because of the angle, and I need to ensure that the accuracy is up there before screwing it down. Alright, so this is how it looks. This is what I meant by a pyramid shape. So I'm done for over here, and just screwing the rest together before adding on the wheels. Now at this period of time, I am actually close to 70% of the whole work, because the remaining 30% is just touching up of the edges and also adding of wheels, and also a little bit of sanding on the edge to make sure that it's not too sharp. It doesn't hurt the user when they're using it as a platform. So this is how I do it, joining them together. Before screwing it, so overall, if you were to ask me how do I feel about this project, this is a very short video, as I didn't film everything. I concise everything down to straight to the point. And what I can say is that it's a very fun one